Superman, the movie, kicks off a new era for DC on film. James Gunn has done a lot of talking ever since he was put in the pole position of running the new look DC film universe under David Zaslav alongside Peter Safran. And we've called him to task a time or two about the yappiness. But the time for talking, on James's part at least, is over. It is time for us to talk about the film. We finally have a film in place for this new DC universe. And of course, they kicked it off with the GOAT. They kicked it off with Superman. And we're here to talk all about the movie. We'll kick things off with spoiler free. We'll do a little spoiler free section for you guys. And then we're going to get into full spoilers to let you know every nitty gritty detail of our thoughts about this film. Here to have the conversation with me, of course, is Tyler, who is with his cat.
Yeah, it's Tyler and Lieutenant Commander Jordy LaForge apparently wants to talk about this. He didn't even see the movie. Fake fan.
Hey, we already got a super chat, not even a minute in. Thank you so much to Samuel Summers for the 10 spot. He says, I want to start off by saying I love this community. Everyone here is awesome. Second, the reason I didn't like the Superman movie is because James Gunn keeps remaking the same movie.
Uh, I will have some points on that for sure.
Definitely. Definitely. All right. Let us kick things off. We're not going to kick things off with the Rotten Tomatoes game because there's just two of us. But I do want to talk about the incredible cast, and I think that's a fair place to start. Um,
Can I
I
take a
think.
guess at the Rotten Tomatoes actually?
Oh, sure.
It's what we do. I got to give it a shot, right?
All right.
All right. You got it up. Let me say audience score is going to be 89. No, 92. Viewer score is going to be 90.
Wait, you said
So,
audience and
audience,
viewer.
yeah, sorry, yeah. Audience 92, critics 90.
Wow. Okay. So with 344 reviews, Superman's tomato meter scores an 82%. So that is
Okay.
the critical score,
Okay.
but the audience score, the popcorn meter with 5,000 plus reviews is 94%.
Okay. So I win by
So,
default. Cool. I just wanted to win
right.
something, Sean. That's all.
I'm actually a little bit surprised by that. Um, I'm surprised the tomato meter score is as low as it is.
Me too, actually. Yeah. I mean, there are definitely flaws about this movie, which we'll get into. But sure. Sure. And when I think of the tomato meter, that's critics. So I'm thinking about that as more a strictly how does this movie rank as a film? As a film, as they say. Um, so I can kind of see that when I think about it in that. But from my own personal perspective, I bring much more than just that into my viewing of this. That affects it.
Sure, sure. So we'll kick things off with the cast. David Cornsweet, of course, playing the titular role of Superman. I hadn't seen David act until I watched Twisters.
Dude,
Um,
love Twisters, man. Twisters is
yeah, it
so
was fun.
good. He was great in it because he's kind of a dick.
Yeah, yeah. And I think he did an excellent job. I think he did a
Yeah.
tremendous job as Superman. I think he's the best Superman we've had since Christopher Reeves.
I can't argue that. He is definitely the what Christopher Reeves did well was he felt human. And I think David Cornsweet feels the same way. He feels like somebody who is grown up with humanity, is a human at his core. And he's emotional. He's a little brash, a little goofy, and that's such a real Superman that I think David really embodied, literally embodied, like in his body language throughout. Um, that I think it really jumped out to me as I was watching this. There's a couple scenes, and we'll get into it that really jumped out to me, but for sure.
Superman is a very physical, and I should say Superman Clark Kent, like the duality of that.
Yep.
Very physical role in the sense that you have to act with your body to distinguish between which character, which version you're portraying, and to get a lot of his emotion across. And I think David Cornsweet did an incredible job at that. Um, there was there's a way that the movie circumvents the question of how people um how people don't recognize that Clark is Superman. And I don't think it needed to even go there because David did a good enough job in his physicality to sort of explain that.
Yeah, and I thought that was more of a tongue in cheek thing they threw in there because it was even brought up as like conspiracy theory almost. Um, and but yeah, there's the whole bit where he, Clark Kent goes into the Daily Planet and he's like fumbling his papers and almost spills his coffee. Um, and it is like distinctly different than when he has to put on the cape.
That thing that we just talked about, it's not a joke. James Gunn has done interviews and said that
Oh, is
he
that canon?
didn't
Okay.
he didn't understand how to explain that, and he didn't like that fact. And then somebody said, it was Tom King actually, who said, "Oh, well, in the comics they've done this," and James said, "Oh, I'll take that," and that is why Tom King received a credit and a special thanks at the end of this movie.
Did he? I mean, he also wrote Up in the Sky, so he's had some Superman credits. But yeah, okay, sure. Tom
He
King
was,
is
yeah, he
is
was,
is a DC Studios guy now for sure.
yeah, he was thanked specially at the end.
Oh, outside of that,
Um,
okay.
yes, so that's why. Hayden's Hideout, the 5 spot. I saw Superman on Thursday with my parents and my two younger sisters. Everyone loved the movie. Jimmy Olsen and Mr. Terrific were the surprises. I cannot wait to talk about Mr. Terrific. We'll
Hell yeah.
shift
Yep.
gears. Go ahead.
I was gonna say me too. That's one of the high points for me.
Yeah. We'll shift gears though. Rachel Brosnahan played Lois Lane in this film.
Were you familiar with her work before this?
No.
Did you ever watch House of Cards?
Yes.
Other she was in that as well. Um, she was the aide of Kevin Spacey's character who has like a sex worker friend that he keeps giving information to. That's Rachel
Yeah.
Brosnahan in that,
Oh
who is a
shit. Okay.
great side character of that show, and that's where I was
Yep.
first introduced to her. Um, and as soon as she was announced, I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it. And I think it's her portrayal of Lois Lane is really good because of her foil to Clark in this. I think I could have enjoyed Lois Lane more on her own, which we get towards the second half of the movie, where she kind of her story shifts to um more of a singular effort of what she's doing. Um, trying to say this, not spoilers, but I think Brosnahan does a great job, and I am excited to see more of her.
She killed it. My favorite Lois on screen as well. She brought that like investigative journalist energy all throughout. Just her eyes and the way that her face would shift when she was questioning something. Like, that doesn't pass the smell test. And she's questioning everything throughout the whole movie. And I like the way that the movie, without spoiling anything, kind of creates a tension between Lois and Clark. Um, Surrounding the Superman of it all that was done very, very effectively.
Superman is a guy that sometimes works on his gut, and that's the benefit of him. But it can lead to ramifications, and that's where Lois is like, I'm going to use my brain here. She's the brain to his bronze in a way.
Yep.
Um, and her honestly calling him out on shit,
Yeah.
is great. There was a behind the scenes point where, it's not a spoiler to say at one point Lois is grilling Clark in this movie. And I guess when they were filming it, Brosnahan was grilling Corn Sweat so much that he got so frustrated and he said fuck fuck fuck, and they had to cut it from the movie because he was like literally they were just getting into it with the filming of it, that I thought that particular scene where they're kind of button heads idealistically was really good.
Yeah, that was an excellent scene. And you can tell that was actually if you're talking about the one where they're in the apartment,
Yes. Yep.
that was the first scene that they shot.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the first scene that they shot. And so they really had to like get very revved up and emotional to do that sequence. And they both talked about how that was such a great place to start because it helped them find their characters right away. And obviously, they had talked a lot about what they would do with their characters and how to play them and stuff. But getting to get on set and do that scene together, the intensity of it really set the tone for their acting the rest of the movie. And you can see that because to me, they embodied these characters. Like I wasn't watching this movie thinking about the actors. I was watching this movie thinking about the characters and how deeply um it felt like they were, you know, into those
Sure.
roles.
Yeah, for sure. Um, gotcha.
Go for it.
Okay. Now I was just gonna say, like, I think that there is a hard headedness that she brings to Lois that I think a lot of the previous depictions of Lois have kind of been missing. Where her comics counterpart is that it's she is not who she is in relation to Superman. She's her own person, and I feel like especially like the Amy Adams portrayal of Lois, it's really her position with Superman that's important. I felt where like Lois has her own arc here and her own story and her own missions and goals, and that was refreshing to see. You know, as somebody who reads her in the comics, you know, like I read her in. I don't know why it's jumping out to me because it's not the best book, but it was Event Leviathan and the whole like checkmate of it all, the Bendis era of Superman. But I will give Bendis credit. Like there was he wrote Lois really well, and there was a really good Greg Rucka Lois Lane book at the time too.
Yep.
That I think this felt a lot more like comics Lois, especially 2025 comics Lois, that I really appreciated.
Yeah, I completely agree. To me, this is the definitive. This is how Lois should always be portrayed. Um, Superman is often called a man of action. Lois is a woman of action. She gets it done.
Yeah, for sure. Even okay, we'll get to the spoilers. We'll get to spoilers.
Yeah. And we can, yeah, because I really want to dive deep. We can get through this a little quick. Like Nicholas Holt, of course, played Lex Luthor, and I'm gonna say it again, man. This is the definitive version to me of Lex. This is the best Lex ever portrayed on screen.
King Hater. I loved him. He is more comic booky than any real version of Lex I've seen in film. I feel like everyone's tried to, you know, like make him like a little more cerebral, make him a little more um conniving. No, this Lex is angry and he will let you know it. The most Lex thing is, and this isn't really a spoiler. Sure, it's a spoiler for a quick little bit. But there's a bit where Lex just knocks down these pencils and forces his employees to clean it up. They clean it up, he knocks it down again. Something as small as that, it was like, yes, that is Lex. He's just an asshole. He's an asshole who has a singular mission, and that will be his driving force that can lead him nearly to greatness, and also his downfall.
He's also extremely capable, extremely intelligent, and devilishly dastardly. And the movie encapsulated all of those things very well. I feel like every version of Lex on screen tries to like tether itself to a modern the idea of an evil business tycoon
Yeah,
at whatever time we're in. And so, for example, the last version played by Jesse Eisenberg was kind of like a very much in the vein of the guy
Zuckerberg.
that, yeah, a
Yeah,
Zuckerbergian type of guy, an eccentric, young, hip guy. Um, Whereas this feels like I get more like Jeff Bezos vibes.
I mean
Um,
maybe yeah, because of the head.
sure, but also like the level of confidence, the posture, the way he carries himself. Jeff Bezos today looks very different than the Jeff Bezos of old because money is
Sure.
magic.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, but this is a man who, like, if this version of Lex Luthor decided, actually, I think I want to be a model. Okay, that could happen. Actually, I want to be an MMA fighter. Physically speaking, I could see that happening. Like everything about him is as close to peak as you get.
Even like just casting Nicholas Holton, and I think is a great idea because he auditioned and nearly almost got the Battinson Batman role, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
yeah.
And then that's kind of what put him on their radar for this, which I think is very interesting because there's a certain physicality and a certain super heroic nature that Nicholas Hoult can easily portray. I mean, he was Beast in the last era of X-Men.
Yep.
Um, he's typically a protagonist. He's the loving husband in Nosferatu, um, and that little twist is exactly who Lex is. Lex is almost a hero, and in some cases he is, but most of the time it's just because he's a little broken that he can't be that hero, and he becomes the greatest villain because of it.
Totally. Yeah. Um, the Justice Gang. We'll just briefly go over. Eddie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner played by Nathan Fillion, and Isabella Marquez played Hawk Girl. Um, they were a part of the movie that I was a little bit worried about, and every single one of them came across like stars.
And I think having it really at 3, sort of 4, but keeping it small was smart. And it's kind of what we expected. They were the corporate hero compared to Superman's grassroots hero, and how Superman inspires them. Um, and I think having those 3 is great. I mean, those are like Isabel Merced is pretty up and coming actress right now. She's in The Last of Us. Currently, hate her or love it. But I think she was cool. And like, what I also liked about this is they don't explain these guys because they don't need to. The world that's built here means that these guys just they exist and they make sense. And Guy is the James Gunn joke vehicle for sure. I mean, his good friend Nathan Fillion is Guy. Yeah, I think these are great, but I mean, Mr. Terrific jumps out of all 3 of them the most.
Oh yeah, Mr. Terrific, that was my guy. That was my guy. And Eddie deserved this because of what he was dealt in First
Screwed
Class.
over.
So he definitely deserved this. Electrics with the 100 SEK loved Lex threw everything he could at Soups because he figured Soups can do it all and have to be overwhelmed with dangers against others. Lex discounts the Justice Gang and thinks that he is above them. Yeah, yeah. I love the way that Lex is shown to be a threat to Superman, um, and the way he utilizes the whole of LexCorp. It's like a weapon that he points directly at Superman. And when you think about the power of Amazon leveraged against one person and what that could mean and be.
Yeah, same day free shipping ass whooping is what that is.
A word. And then can we have some quick thoughts, Tyler, on the cinematography before we get into like the spoiler point?
It's fine. I don't think this movie really breaks any molds in terms of like how it's shot or anything like that. I think the biggest thing for me is that it is distinctly colored. Um, Almost antithetical to the Snyderverse and the previous era of DC, purposefully. I do think at some points it feels unnatural, and it kind of takes me out. Specifically, I'm thinking of the point where it's in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler. But the mech suit hammer Baravia guy shoots a laser beam through this office building. No office building is that colorful. I know you want to add color to it, but office buildings are distinctly not colorful. That's kind of the part of it that I don't like. Um, so it felt color graded to a point where it feels unnaturally colorful. But that's a small gripe. I think overall it works. It helps these characters pop out. It helps Guy Gardner pop out when he's in a desert area. It helps all these primary colored heroes really feel distinct against everything else they're in. So I think that's fine. I love how there's no real slow motion in this movie. Thank God. Another decision that I think is purposeful. But in terms of like the craft behind it all, it's a James Gunn movie. It's popcorn. I'm not expecting, well, Nolan's on the brain right now, but I'm not expecting Christopher Nolan for this movie. So I think it just does its job.
I loved the visual aesthetic of this film. I thought that Gavin Guidry actually, I spoke to him after he had seen it, and he called out the cinematography as being like the camera being very active, and by that he means like it moves and shifts and follows a lot. And um, I definitely felt that for sure, especially like pieces where Superman might be flying or during like the more action heavy bits, which I thought the action in this was pretty good. Um, I personally really love the action beats in Man of Steel. And this isn't like that, which for a lot of people will be a good thing. You don't see as much like, for example, Superman flying through a building, like getting punched and flying through a building and potentially causing mass catastrophe. That's not quite what you get um, from an action standpoint, but Superman does his business. Like he gets it in. And it's very fun to watch. I like the fact that we were able to get a Superman who's clearly powerful and can display that and beat the shit out of people when he needs to, but also is very preoccupied with making sure that he's saving people as much as he's harming whoever he needs to harm in defense of people.
And the antagonist he's put up against let him display the variety of his powers. He's
Yeah,
put up against another flyer, super guy with the hammer Bravia again, or Ultraman. They're in the trailer, not a spoiler. So he gets to do like he gets the ragdoll dude, where like it's not killing him immediately. He gets to fight a big monster, which is classic Superman as well. I mean, that's like from the Flesher cartoons. Then he also has to, he can't do the same thing to Lex Luthor, so he has to flex a different kind of muscle in that way. So I do like how it gave him a varied group of people to be up against to showcase the different ways that Superman can go about a situation.
sure. Yep. Raccoon with Bev joining the channel as a Comics Pal sidekick. Thank you so much, dude.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate that.
Even though your
Um,
icon is a cat, unless you know, sure,
they are a raccoon with Bev, but
that's the cat.
listen,
Got
their
it.
avatar, completely
The cat.
different
Yeah,
beast. Literally.
the tuxedo too.
Steve Canera said it was the most comic booky comics movie, colors and all. I completely agree with that. And I think that's the final thing I want to
Yeah,
leave off with before we get into spoilers, which is that if you have a problem with the fact that most comic book movies, at least of the prior era, felt almost ashamed of what their origin was. This is a movie that, for good or ill, and in my opinion, for the good, is unabashedly, unashamed a comic book movie. It takes what makes Superman compelling and like the world around him compelling, because the world around Superman is actually really weird. And a lot of weird things happen to him. He's not that weird, but things happen to him that are weird. And this movie gets that across. Like it feels like a Silver Age-ish Superman movie, and I think that that is exactly what it should have been.
Steve literally like when I came out of the movie, because I'm a man in my 30s, I put a letterbox review out, and I wrote it's the most comic book movie, better or for worse.
Yeah, I completely agree. So, do you want to give it a rating before we get into spoilers? Do you have
I mean, on my letterbox, I gave it a 4 out of 5. If I could have, it would have been a 3.75. That's just not a possibility, so I rounded up. So I would probably, if we're going on a 10 scale, 7.5 out of 10, probably where I land.
okay? I'm actually much more on the 8.5, um, nearly a 9. I thought this movie was a triumph. It is my favorite James Gunn movie, and it's not even close. I think he
Movie,
reigned him.
like not even
Yeah,
superhero movie.
I mean, I've never seen a non-superhero James Gunn
Scooby Doo?
movie. No.
Oh, well, they would be superheroes in
Um,
a way.
but uh, the things about James Gunn's movies that I don't like are still here,
Yes.
but they're reined in some aspects, and then in others, I think the movie as a whole, the totality of it was so good to me that I was able to like downplay some of the things that bothered me, the gunnisms that bothered me, because I just didn't want to get overtaken by that. I didn't want it to overshadow the good, and I think there was a tremendous amount of good. Best cast it could have had,
Hands down.
uh bold, a bold movie because it's not afraid to be a comic book movie. It's not afraid to use characters that don't have like all the explanation in the world to establish who they are. Like, just this is a living, breathing world, and they live in it, and it's great.
This movie introduces Metamorpho the Element Man and doesn't explain shit. And you know
Yep.
what? Didn't need to, which I thought was like impressive because by the time we get to Metamorpho, he has a character poster. We not spoilers yet,
Yeah, yeah.
um, but by the time we even get there, it's like, oh, we're in this world. It makes sense within this world at this point.
Yeah, and like sometimes the only explanation that you need is like, this is what the guy does,
Yeah,
and scene.
who he is, what he does. You'll get his motive as we tell the story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like that moment where he was introduced, um, within like 30 seconds, Lex explains literally everything that's pertinent to the movie about Metamorpho.
and some people say, "Hey, don't explain it to me. Show it to me." No, Lex will explain everything, and that's his character. So there
Yeah.
was a great voice to do that. Like, have anyone else explained it, it wouldn't have like worked. But because it's coming through the right cipher, yeah,
And the explanation is it and like, you know how sometimes you can see the wheels turning when someone is explaining something in a movie or a comic or whatever? Like, we need to say these things so that the
yeah,
audience understands, right?
yeah. We
It
can't
didn't
do caption boxes because this is a movie. Yeah,
Right. It didn't feel like that. It actually felt very organic. Like, it felt like Lex telling Superman, "This is
there's a
what this
reason.
guy's
Yep.
gonna do to you, and this is his motivation for doing this to you."
The movie does that comic booky explanation in the first shot. They get it out of the way, where they explain what this world is,
Yeah.
um, and that did its job right off the way. It set the boundaries for everything we're going to experience going forward, and kind of gave context to it, so everything kind of just gelled and made sense.
Right. And I love this point that Andrew Rivera makes. It was a movie that knows we've had almost 20 years of superhero movies. Quite frankly, it's a movie that knows that we have had nearly 50 years of superhero movies.
Hey, Andrew, I know him. Hi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I agree though.
I
It's
thought that name looked familiar,
yeah.
but it's a great point that stands anyway, because it's like, look, we have seen all this stuff, you know? Yeah, there were some characters in this that we haven't encountered before, but like, who went to this movie that's not used to the idea of superheroes?
Superheroes, especially in the America, the Western sense, are a myth. They're like they're the idea of like they're gods. You know, Morrison talks about it. It's ingrained in our culture
Yeah.
more than most things because like this is an American thing. The idea of Superman. It's like James Gunn has said he never wants to see a rocket landing with a baby in it on a planet. He never wants to see pearls being dropped while Bruce's parents gets killed, and he never wants to see Spider-Man get bit by a spider again. We get it. We don't need to spend time there, and I completely agree with James Gunn.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm fully lockstep in that we never need to see it again, but I don't think it would have added anything to this movie. And I think the directors that have handled a lot of these characters over the last decade have found more interesting ways to tell us the origin of these characters without necessarily like bogging the movie down with it. And this is a great, maybe the best example of that we've gotten so far. But I want us to get into spoilers. It's been almost a half an hour, way longer than I anticipated. We would talk non-spoiler. So this is the moment where, my friends, if you have not seen the movie and you don't want to be spoiled, you must leave. Please come back. We would love your view. Um, but you must leave because we're going to spoil the whole kit and caboodle right now. So this is your warning. From here on out, everything you're going to hear is going to spoil the movie for you. I want to ask you right away, Tyler. The movie starts with a crawl, not dissimilar to a Star Wars type of
Just like a
situation
Star
where,
War, yeah.
right, where it kind of lays out like 3,000 years ago, this happened. The Gods and Monsters era started. 30 years ago, like 30 years ago, a planet exploded and a rocket landed on the planet with a baby. And 3 years ago, Superman, like, came out,
It's
so to
angel
speak.
numbers, baby. All those threes.
What did you think that was a good way to introduce the movie, or do you think that was misplaced? I saw a lot of people criticizing that.
This is where I hate that I know so much. Um, where it's like, oh, they're saying gods and monsters right away. We know that's the name of this first phase of DC
Yeah.
Studios. So like I hated that I knew that because then I'm seeing the studio gears driving. You know, I see the DC Studios thing pushing this forward. Um, I didn't care much for it, but it needed to be done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Um, I like the fact that the first time we see Superman, he got his ass kicked. That's cool. That's not something we really see often, especially right away. And it really puts Superman at like the ground floor immediately with the everyman. So I thought that was good. But the crawl was like, I see the point of it. And I think without it, things like Hawkgirl and things like a Green Lantern maybe wouldn't make so much sense. Because I think by default our understanding of things is that Superman's the first one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that was the right way of going about it. It's funny. My brother went yesterday and he called me. He's like, "I missed the first shot. What happened?" I'm like, "Oh, a crawl." Like explaining things. He's like, "Oh, okay, that explains a lot now." I'm like, "All right, well, I guess he might have needed it." He showed up like a minute too late or something.
Yeah, when I saw it, I didn't understand what all the criticism was about because that had been spoiled for me. That was the only like thing that had been spoiled. And I was like, what's the problem with this? Like, it doesn't last terribly long in the grand scheme of a movie with a runtime of about 2 hours, and it tells you the essential details you need to know. Superman's not the first. And he's been around for 3 years in the public eye, and he's about 30 years old. That's it.
Maybe they have an issue with the font,
Maybe.
which fine.
I don't know. But yeah, you brought up the fact that the first time we see Superman, he's actually he's been punched and he's flying through the air and he lands in a very Yamcha-esque pose
Ah,
near the Fortress of Solitude, and he needs Crypto to help him get there, which is a scene that we've sort of seen in the trailers and stuff like that. And I'll say this. I like my Superman powerful. And so I was a bit disconcerted by the fact that like he immediately was getting the shit beat out of him. And I was like, here we go, the James Gunn aspect of it. And then he goes to fight that Hero of Baravia guy again after going into the Fortress of Solitude, and he gets his ass whipped again because he was only at 80% power. Um, and I didn't love that. I'm not gonna get on here and lie. I really didn't love it just because I feel like I want Superman to be able to kick ass. I want him to be able to beat the hero of Baravia. Now, granted, those are my feelings in the immediate moment. My feelings about that changed as we got later into the movie because I didn't know who the hero of Baravia was in the beginning. Once I learned his who he really was, then I was like, okay, that's completely fine.
I'll admit, I think it wasn't until like 25% through the movie that I started really liking it. Um,
Okay,
I started off being a little like uneasy, a little um kind of with you, where it's like, okay, I felt like they might have thrown us in a little too in media res, you know what I mean?
right. Yeah.
Um, so I was trying to come at it as somebody that's like, I don't know about this character. I want to go in fresh, and it's such a hard thing to do in your head. I probably
Sure.
shouldn't have tried it. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of aligned.
And it's worth pointing out that James Gunn has talked about the fact that he didn't really want to do an all-powerful Superman. He wanted to do a Superman that doesn't invalidate the other members of the Justice League and the need for other heroes. And I agree with that part of it. And I think that the movie does an excellent job of showcasing why other heroes are important and relevant to DC's world because you see the Justice Gang and how they're heroes too that matter and that they actually are helpful to Superman in taking down the kaiju that he fights later in the movie and with other things as well, like they help in Baravia. They do things, they are relevant. This movie tells you, yes, Superman is powerful, but he still needs others. Other superheroes are necessary, and I do appreciate that message. Because in Justice League, Superman comes around and he sews that whole situation up.
Superman has 32 lines in Justice League, Sean. Maybe we shouldn't really be thinking.
Well, he was dead for
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but the point I'm trying to make is that in that movie, once Superman comes into the picture, you don't need Wonder Woman, you don't need Flash, you don't need
Yes,
Aquaman,
yes.
and that's
Well,
not good.
well, and also this world, superheroes existed already. Like Superman's only been active for 3 years. He's about 30-ish in age, so still relatively young-ish for Superman. And I think that the idea of superheroes and metahumans is just ingrained in this world at this point. There's that bit. Are we in spoiler territory? We are, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So there's one bit where um, Lois goes to the Hall of Justice, which fuck yeah, seeing that on screen,
yeah,
loved it. And I love how it's in its infancy. They're just building it. It's still under construction. And they go in, she goes in with Mr. Terrific Guy and Hawkgirl, and you see the mural, which is an edited version of the mural that's in, I think, the Columbus, is it? Train
yeah, yeah,
station.
yeah. Yep.
Um, they made the mural at the JSA, and you can see Wildcat punching a bag there. You can see Sandman in that, and it's like this world has had superheroes for forever. Superman being in here is not a big. It's not a big deal, but it also is a big deal. You know what I mean? So like the fact that these other heroes exist makes them have a reason to exist with Superman, as opposed to Superman just being more powerful than them, canceling them all out. Superman's a god previously in movies, where here he's a hero, and so are everyone else.
Yeah. Jose says, "Lol, the shilling is embarrassing." I mean, so you didn't like the movie then? Is that the gimmick? Are you because to me, using the word shill, that's actually embarrassing. So if you could put that dumb internet corny shit aside and speak like a normal human, like, do you just simply not enjoy the movie? Because that we can have a dialogue about. But you accusing us of shilling is very lame. We don't know you. You don't know us.
I'd also say, like, if we're shilling, at least I would like the check to come in.
Yeah. When's the check coming in? I would
Yeah,
love that.
yeah. If you want me
What?
to do some like official press on the next DC Studios movie, where I'm, oh, come with me to the studio to check things out, and I'll start screaming about how hyped I am in my car seat and on a TikTok, I'll do that. That's fine, but I'll need a check.
Yeah.
This
Anyway,
is love of the game, buddy.
um, so yeah, the movie introduces us to Superman in a way that I think is very unique to Superman films, and that he's on the back foot, and he goes into the Fortress of Solitude and needs to be helped by the robots that he has built, the Superbots, and that scene introduces a critical piece of the film, which is the message that his literal parents left for him, and it's in Kryptonese, and they're essentially telling him, I don't mean that to be funny. I That's what I thought the language was called,
I don't think
actually.
I've ever heard it called Kryptonese. I've heard it called Kryptonian,
Oh,
but I like Kryptonese. I want to eat some Kryptonese food.
it could be good.
Could be.
It could be very good. But the message is essentially telling, Kal-El, as they would refer to him as, hey, look, your planet is gone. We love you. Go to this planet that we found for you and, be their hero, be their savior, be great. And that inspires him and it motivates him. And he loves that message from his parents. And that is the way that Lex is kind of able to manipulate the public against Superman, because Lex is in the weeds and everything that's happening in this movie. He is manipulating every situation. He's manipulating the war between Bavaria and that other country. Like, he's in the weeds, and he gets this message when he goes to the Fortress of Solitude, which he's able to access, and we don't know why. Which we learn later, and I thought that was brilliant. But he's able to go there. He gets the message, which half of it was lost. It was damaged data, and the engineer is able to extract it. And um, Lex has his people analyze the language, and they learn quick Kryptonese, and they say that the rest of the message is his parents telling him to rule over Earth. And that message gets out there to all people, and now these people who were literally praying for Superman to come save them now fear him. Go ahead.
This is a very John Byrne era version of that story, because I know the idea of that you know, he was sent there on not so great means, and his parents kind of being for you modern people a little more invincible type, where he was meant to be a ruler of Earth. I believe
Yeah.
that's John Byrne era stuff. Um, a lot of this movie feels like John Byrne era stuff, to be honest. Um, but I didn't. A Bradley Cooper jump scare. First of all, when he pops up, I'm like, I'm hearing a voice. I'm like, that sounds familiar. Oh, it's Rocket Raccoon speaking Kryptonese. Um, but I didn't hate that. I know there's a lot of discussion about, you know, the the choice to have his parents. Like I know this is all through the cipher of Lex telling us it's legit. But so did the Alan Tudyk robot. Um, so we kind of had to take that at face value. Um, but I'm not against it. I know there's some people who are decrying it.
I was kind of on the side of like, why does anybody believe this was real? Like, not the characters in the movie necessarily, but like real humans that live. Why are people coming out of this movie going, "Oh, that's such a betrayal of, Jarrell and Laura, and they would never do that." It's like, dude, it was a message interpreted by the most evil man on earth and his cronies. You think that was real?
So there's going to be a Daily Planet article out saying that it was edited in Adobe Premiere. There's a
Yeah,
there's a
I feel
there's a
like
missing minute.
I actually felt like a lot of the movie was a commentary on information and the way that information can be manipulated and used, and how people are working behind the scenes to control us. And we see that very much so with the war and the way the media approaches the conversation about the war, the way Lex engineered the war behind the scenes, and the message. That message was doctored, and like Lois, Lois, and everybody else. I almost wish there was a beat where they uncovered the false nature of the message, and I'm sure they'll tackle that in a future movie. But I didn't believe it at all.
I only believed it because I know they've done it in the comics, and I felt like that's where it was coming from.
Okay.
But the idea that it could be doctrine, the idea of the people quickly turning on him, like he just saved them, and then they're throwing soup cans at him.
Yeah.
Like, also,
Yeah.
who just carries a soup can? Like, what? Just stop by Trader Joe's and you got your tikka masala sauce ready.
I was waiting for this
Yeah.
moment.
Also, like that's expensive. You know it's not gonna. He fought a kaiju. What do you think that's gonna fucking do, buddy? Um, but like, I can see like the idea of people being manipulated by media is a prescient thing, especially
Right.
with uh, I think a lot of this movie is strangely topical for July 2025, in so much that it maybe wasn't even as topical when it was being made.
Sure.
Um, and I think the idea of like there's that Michael Ian Black's character. He plays like the shock jock news guy, which should have been Jack Reacher. It's not. Like I was hoping he was the creeper. Um, but it's like some other like Clevis Braithwaite or something. I looked it up because I like Michael Ian Black. Um, the idea like that, those kinds of people can just quickly manipulate their viewers and the audience to shift public opinion in any way they want is unfortunately very real. So
Totally.
I bought it either way.
Cardiac Solace. Wait, I thought they went pretty far to say that it wasn't doctored. No, the other experts, Mr. Terrific. I mean, they're interpreting a language that up until that day didn't exist to them. So for me, I just didn't put a lot of stock into all of that stuff. And knowing that this movie will have a sequel, makes me feel like that they're not going to go down that road. It's almost like an Invincible type of thing.
Sure. Yeah.
And I just don't see that. I could be entirely wrong, but in my opinion, that is not going to be um, the truth of that scene. And
It
before I move on, Samuel Summers with the $5. Thank you so much, dude. That scene was jarring to me because it didn't feel earned. The people turned on him too quickly. I'm fine with the change, though. Agreed. Agreed. It was a little over the top the way that they saw the message and then instantaneously started throwing garbage and doing all that stuff.
It wasn't fully instantaneous though. Like there was that one guy that gives Superman his phone. And like, is this real? Is this real? And then the mob mentality starts, jumping in. So even he was kind of questioning it. The person there was questioning things in a way. But it does become mob mentality pretty quickly
It's
within a
within
scene.
it's I mean it's within screen time like 2 minutes. So to
Oh,
me that's pretty
less than,
fast.
yeah,
Yeah. So that's nearly instantaneous.
yeah.
And I just thought it was a little much
It,
too quick.
if I'm gonna justify it, because I think the movie does overly explain to you, like, no, this is legit. So I have to trust the movie in that sense. Um, but if you really want a comic booky explain it, maybe Brainiac adjusted the footage on its way to Earth, to Prime Earth for an invasion. I don't know. There's your Superman too.
Again, it's the interpretation of language,
Sure.
of a foreign language. That I mean, come on. Um Kevin Davis, DC Studios going to have to earn back trust of the audience. One film isn't going to change anything at all. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I think that one film can change things. I think people put too much stock in the idea of, oh my God, audiences are so burnt by DC's prior era. I just don't think it works that way, dude. I think people need something entertaining to go watch. And if the word of mouth is good, then they'll show up. And this movie is tracking pretty well, so that tells me that people are into it.
It's apparently tracking more than they expected,
Yep.
which was really refreshing to see. Especially
Yeah.
like with previews, it beat previews for even the Batman, which
Which is
is big.
yeah, exactly. Um yeah, so let's talk more about this version of Superman.
Sure.
To me, this feels like the most grounded in humanity version
Yes.
of Superman that we have seen. He
I
feels like a
liked
human.
I like that he yells.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't roar like Henry Cavill's did. Henry Cavill's was always through intimidation. I felt, crying. You know, when he screams after he kills Zod. That happened, right? I've tried to erase that
Yes.
movie out of my
It
mind.
did.
Um, but this one, he just gets flustered sometimes. You know, and there's this one bit where he's sitting down at in Smallville with Pa Kent, and he's just dejected. And he's tired, and like there's a real emotionality that Corn Sweat really brings to the physicality of the character that I think is just good acting. But also like in terms of like the Superman I want, that's the kind of down to earth Superman that I want. So this feels like my version of Superman.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the most I've connected to the Superman character on screen, and I think that's because one of James Gunn's biggest strengths, and I think that it was used over the top in almost every movie I've ever no in every movie I've ever seen of his, is emotionality. He knows how to draw emotion out of you through his characters. Times when I didn't like it, in this movie are almost every single instance of violence that is done or implied towards crypto or the robots. James Gunn likes to hurt things that are innocent, and he plays that to the max. Like Guardians 3 was torturous to watch because it's like I don't want my emotions to be manipulated in that way.
You make it sound like he's a kid with a magnifying glass in his backyard frying ants.
He might as well be. There's a deleted scene in this movie where Crypto gets punched by Ultraman. And it was removed because the audience that watched it felt very bad about that scene when they did
Ooh,
like the
especially if there's
audience
a
test.
Yelp that accompanies it.
I don't know. But like that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like I don't really go to movies to watch dogs get punched. Robot violence always bothers me because robots are always portrayed. Yeah, I really don't like it. They're always portrayed as like very
Damn, pro clanker over
innocent.
here.
Sorry?
You're pro clanker over here.
Totally, dude. I
Yeah.
am I am pro robot. And the scene where the robots are being gutted and destroyed by the engineer and Ultraman is clearly meant to make you feel something. And it's the same thing he did in Guardians 3, and it's just like, I don't want it. It's too
I,
much.
I like that because we are led to show that like in terms of Superman's relation to Krypton, that's really all he has. And especially number four, the Alan Tudyk one. That's his friend. And then seeing it was like, hey, let's kill the nice guy.
Yeah.
Um, even though he's not dead, he's a robot. Uh, And then it let James Gunn do another one of his fight scenes where the camera circles around everywhere like crazy.
Yeah, I will say it was pretty cool. The engineer
Yeah.
was sick
Good
in this
use
movie.
of a D-list character.
Hell yeah.
And the engineer, I have her character poster up in here somewhere. That's Maria Gabriella De Faria, the engineer. I liked how, like, yeah, she has the full on engineer face underneath the skin. Like, it's the authority character. And she's kind of doing an authority esque motivation throughout this that is character accurate.
Yeah, I really like that she wasn't just a hench person for
Yeah,
Lex. Like
she
she
had
has an
opinions.
individual motivation.
Yep.
One of the lines of the movie for me, I almost wrote this shit down in the theater, and I didn't do it because I don't like people pulling their phones out in the theater. But she said, I sacrificed my humanity for this because she's so concerned about the fact that there's an alien on Earth that she doesn't trust individually herself. She just doesn't trust him. She sacrificed her humanity to make herself a formidable opponent for Superman. Crazy.
And like it's also good world building in terms of like you're because here's the other thing about the movie that I felt like it did a good job, but there was also points where it took me out. Is that it yes, it was a good standalone movie, but it did have a lot on its shoulders in terms of rebuilding this entire world.
Yeah.
But I think throwing things like the engineer is great because that engineer can pull a Rick Flag and show up somewhere else. You know, she's not dead. They don't kill her off. They're not pulling Marvels where they kill off all the characters by the end, all the villains and the antagonists. Lex gets sent to Belle Reve, which I pop for Belle Reve. I'm a sucker for Belle Reve. But like she can show up easily in an Authority book or Stormwatch if they decide to finally go through with that.
Well, Hayden makes an excellent point. I'm surprised Planet Watch didn't get renamed to Stormwatch by the end of the movie. And, there have been long standing, not even rumors, like James Gunn said, an Authority movie is coming. It was one of the first movies that he announced. And so I thought this was before I saw the movie, I thought this was a stealth way to intro the concept of that. But now that we've seen it and this shit was called Planet Watch, I was like, that's a clunky name. Why did they? Oh, that's why.
And in the context of this movie, Stormwatch makes 1000% sense.
Yep.
It justifies the idea of Stormwatch as the ones making the calls that people don't want to make.
Yep.
And I hope that movie gets actually some traction on it because I want to see that.
Dude, anywhere I can see more of this character is where I want to be. She was sick as hell. To me, she stole the show. Like Mr. Terrific was probably my favorite character in the movie overall, but every scene the engineer was in was a visual feast because of the way her powers works and she could turn her
The
body into
jetpack all of a
anything.
sudden, yeah.
Yeah, that shit was crazy, man. And like an antagonist for Superman, we've never really seen him fight anything like that in a movie before. So I thought that was very cool. Um, but yeah, back to Superman really quickly. Like this, the concept of Superman as a man of action is something that the movies haven't tackled to the extent of, well, what does he do when there's a conflict happening in the world that he doesn't co-sign? How does he handle that? He has the power to stop war at will. What would he do in that situation? And there were aspects of it that I felt like um, Zack Snyder had already dealt with in Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman. So there were things that kind of felt like deja vu, but I like his answer when he's questioned about like why did he do this? Because it's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm representing me. This is wrong. Someone has to do something. I can, so I should. That's it.
Zack Snyder's answer to that is a Senate hearing scene.
Which
Where
I
he
enjoyed,
gets
but
questioned about that. But I like that the Superman just does it. Consequences be damned. I'll deal with that later. People need to be saved. And I think that's a universal truth that I was happy to see. The whole Baravian Jarhanpur conflict is oddly prescient.
yeah,
Not oddly, I mean that situations like that have been happening in the real world outside of October 7th. It's been happening for decades and decades. But the idea that a big budget superhero movie was able to pick a side on that so clearly was surprising to me. Like literally clearly, Hawkgirl just offs the fake Netanyahu at one point in this.
That was
um,
crazy.
yeah, but like, and then he drops him for a quick little visual gag. Um, but I thought it was impressive, and like the weird thing in my head was like Marvel wouldn't do this. Marvel wouldn't make Captain America: Brave New World came out and it's a political thriller, and somebody said on Twitter like this is more politically motivated than an entire political thriller movie. This one had an opinion and had a stance, and it went for it, which I thought was impressive.
I've seen people talk about how this movie. I've seen people obviously say, "Oh, this movie's too woke." I've seen people say it's not woke at all, and disregarding the absolute stupidity of everybody who uses that word. This movie was definitely very political. I don't see how you could go to this movie and say that it wasn't political. It's very it wears its politics on its sleeve.
But it's the political that people disagree with in the sense that like James Gunn probably wouldn't say it's political because it's humanity. It's the right thing. That's not politics. That's the right thing. And that's probably how he would go about it. And um, yes, there are some aspects of it that can be portrayed as political. I think people also don't understand what political means anymore. Then there's identity politics, and there's all types of different types of politics now. Um, but yeah, I was surprised that a movie that Zaslav probably had to sign off on was able to do this.
Probably.
You think he watched it, or he was just like, "Nah, I trust you guys."
Of course you watched it.
I don't know, dude.
Of
Um,
course you watched it.
but yeah, I think this is a really good thing, and I'm happy that James Gunn was able to like fucking make a call on this. And sure, he's not naming names in terms of countries and states and all that, but come on, even if it's not, you know, 1 to 1, it's pretty close.
Yeah, I really, 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 really enjoy this version of Superman. I like his commitment to good. There was one scene though that really bothered me. It was my least favorite scene in the whole movie by far. Um, and that was the scene where he's having a conversation with Lois in the apartment, and there's the dimensional being out the window,
The imp,
and
wink, wink. Was that Mixaplick?
I don't know.
Hmm.
And the Justice Gang is fighting it, and Superman's having a conversation inside with Lois. And she's kind of like, "Oh, were you dealing with that?" And he's like, "Ah, they got it." To me, that flew in the face of everything that we had just seen with the character. Why would he be comfortable with this going on outside when he wasn't comfortable with the kaiju, he wasn't comfortable with Baravia, he wasn't comfortable with any of that, but he's willing to let this crazy shit go on out his window. That was one of those gunnisms that to me it sucked me right out of the movie.
And the real gunnism is that there's a deep conversation Lois and Clark are having here. Superman's dejected. They took his dog, you know. Um, and then you have Guy Gardner giving the bonk with a baseball bat in the background. That's, you know, the most Looney Tune shit happening in the background possible. And it's that gun dichotomy of like, here's goofy shit, here's serious shit happening at the same time. Hate it or love it. I lean more towards your opinion, Sean, where I was like, Superman would quickly go there, fix it real quick, and then come back and talk to Lois. But it was there for a gag. Let's be real.
And that was that stuff was the stuff that brought this movie down for me. It's like I think James Gunn thinks he's a lot funnier than he is. And to me, that stuff doesn't work. Like there was a scene where, well, I think it was in the scene where they're killing the robots, and then another scene where Mister Terrific is having his little spheres take out the hired guns by the portal, and there's this music playing, and it's just like, yo, James Gunn has the worst taste in music known to
Dude,
fucking man.
this was my biggest gripe of the movie. You nailed it. Was James Gunn perfectly did that in the Guardians movies. But the problem with, or the benefit of the Guardians movies is that they're all about Star Lord's music, and they're set into a time period that has to be within Star Lord's purview of Earth music, which leads to like the greatest hits happening. This movie doesn't have that, so it lets James Gunn's horrible music taste come out. It lets him. I wrote that he has the music taste of somebody who has a Jay and Silent Bob poster hung up in their bedroom. Um, it's none of it hits the same way those Guardians movies hit, and they're trying to do the exact same thing. But it's like a guy who thinks Chumbawamba should have won a Grammy. You know, um, it wasn't for me. I didn't like the music. I like the score. The score
Yeah,
is great. I
yeah.
didn't like the needle drops in this at all. I thought all of them kind of flub.
I also don't think that they fit tonally with Superman.
The only tonal way I can think about it is that this is music that a goofy guy who thinks he's punk rock, the whole that fake band that's in this movie, Krabby something or other,
Killjoys, yeah.
yeah, Krabby Killjoys or Crabjoy, whatever. Um, it's supposed to be music that a guy thinks is cool, and that's the reason for it, and it's not cool, and that's the whole bit. It didn't fit for me.
Samuel Summers with the $2 twice says my favorite scene is the fight with Lois and Clark. Yeah, I think that was probably the best scene in the movie. We'll stick on that a little more in a moment. And then he follows up by saying, "How did you feel about all of that comedy?" I think we kind of answered that to some degree. I think there were comedic moments that were funny. I thought every Jimmy Olsen bit worked.
Jimmy Olsen, standout in this movie.
Yeah,
Skyler, what's his name? Higando. Cale as a fellow Olsen, spelled differently, but he's still an Olsen. I thought it was great. And then it was the right amount too. And I know there's rumors of him getting his own TV show soon. I'm like, yeah, greenlight that right now. Do it.
it was Mighty Crabjoys, not Killjoys. My bad.
Sure, sure. You got MCR
Um,
on the brain. It's fine.
always. Yeah, I thought some of the comedy worked. Jimmy Olsen being this like hot guy, and you like all the girls in the movie except Lois are into him, including Lex's girlfriend. But you, as the watcher, are looking at this and going, "What the fuck?" But they're obsessed with him, and that's pulled directly from the comics, and it's funny.
Yeah. If you give me a TV show that is a adaptation of Matt Fraction's Jimmy Olsen run with this guy, that would hit like
I
crazy.
could see that. I could see a like a short series on HBO Max like that.
Just trying to do journalism, and he just flubs around the entire time, and women love him. Like the
Izzy's
antithesis of
issues.
James Bond.
Right. Izzy's issues. Jimmy drowning in puss. Olsen. My God.
I mean, he kind of is. I
Oh
did.
my
There was a
goodness.
part of me that was like, I wanted to see him have a relationship with some other like DC character to pop up. Like there was that whole mystery of he was Mutant Toes in it, and it's sure it's Eve. It winds up being Eve, and I think it worked for the movie. But I was excited. I was thinking like, who the fuck is Mutant Toes? Is that a Superman's mermaid ex girlfriend that he's into now?
I was positive it was Eve, and I think a lot of the things in the movie were very like transparent. Like you could see where the movie was going at every point. Like it was so obvious that when she was taking those pictures, she was doing it in a way that would cost Lex later. That was so obvious.
It
Not I'm not complaining, but it was, pretty see-through.
Yeah, it's no Kaiser Soze moment.
Uh,
But I think it's like it's not this movie's not a smart movie, and I don't mean that as a negative. Like a lot, like the whole match slash Bizarro slash Ultraman thing. I saw that coming as soon as I got into the Fortress of Solitude. Like it's not trying to hide things in this grand mystery. It's comic booky, and that's what's fine about it.
yeah. The Watcher, I don't get it, man. I don't see how you could see this movie, you being named The Watcher. I don't see you could watch this movie and say it wasn't political just because it's using places that don't exist. Like you have to be able to use um, your noggin to understand that James Gunn is making an extremely political statement through this movie. And Superman is a very political character. The movie has a lot to say about journalism, which is political. So I think you're afraid of admitting those things because then it would cause you to have to admit that something that is quote unquote woke is something that you could like. But just let that go, dude. Like, who cares? Yes, it's political, and that can be okay. I guarantee you probably like Star Wars, highly political. Like, just everything you probably like has political elements to it, and that's fine, bro. It's not a big deal. Uncanny Suit with the 199. Do you guys think Gunn should direct the sequel? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm cool with him doing like other directors doing characters in the world, like somebody else is doing Supergirl and all that. that's fine. But I would like to see Gunn at least stick to a particular character and continue where he left off. This.
I think I was very worried about this movie. I'm not gonna lie, I was very worried, and it exceeded all my expectations. But um, the biggest worry was the James Gunn tone from the Guardians films that I don't appreciate, and I think he was able to like level that out to where he got to the point of what he needed to do, and that makes me interested in seeing what he'll do next with this character.
Yeah, he built the world. He built the tone. I would like to see him play in it a little more.
Yeah. Cardiac Solace with a 5 spot. Maybe a nitpick, but I prefer when Terrific just flies with the T-Spears. The chair felt weird to me. I accept the ship, though. Agreed. I thought the
Agreed.
chair was odd.
The chair looked like some ROG gaming chair you buy on Amazon for a Prime Day deal.
Oh, wrong chair. Oh, my
Republic of
goodness.
Gamers.
Um, yes, I agree with you, Mike. It's not woke or not woke. It's good or bad writing. Yeah, completely. And I thought the writing was quality here, especially in the way it did tackle that stuff, which was again very political. Um, we haven't talked too much about Lois. I'd like to get into her a little bit more. Best version of Lois I've ever seen. I think Rachel Brosnahan embodied the spirit of what that character is all about. And the thing that I like the most is that she is very much with Clark, with Superman, but that is not all that she is in this movie. You know, she doesn't save him, but she does help. Like when she brings Mr. Terrific to the portal that leads you to that dimensional rift or whatever. Um, if she hadn't gone to the Hall of Justice to get him, Superman may have died. So I thought that was pretty cool that she was able to do that. She's a woman of action, and this movie showed us as close as we're ever going to get to what that means for Lois. We're never going to get a Lois film. We're probably not ever going to get a Lois TV show. She's always going to be in a Superman media. And I think this was the most of Lois we've ever got.
Yeah, and I think I had I don't know if he's still in the chat here, Andrew Rivera, but he's the one who posted a letterbox article. He's saying it's his favorite comic book movie that fails the Bechdel test. Um, it would have been nice to see, like, it isn't until halfway, even more than halfway through the movie, that Lois is actually doing something for the plot that isn't in relation to Superman. And I was, up until it happened, a little frustrated with it. But then Lois is now the spearhead for the takedown of Lex in the media. And I was like, okay, cool. Now Lex is being attacked by Superman and Lois from different directions. And that's when she actually started getting her story throughout this, as opposed to just being her story being I'm Superman's girlfriend or a relationship's an issue. That's where I was like, okay, yeah, this is my Lois. I dig this. I like the bit where she has to fly Mr. Terrific's ship and figure out how it's just what's the word that they used? It's intuitive. Yeah. I was into it. And I like the bit where, like, even like she felt like Lois when she's flying this ship, but she's dictating the article to Jimmy. So she is, even when she's flying a spaceship that she's only flown once before, she can still be the journalist.
Yeah.
Like fucking Perry White in the background is smoking a cigar the entire time. Oh, so good. Cat
I was
Grant.
so
Shout
I
out
was so
Cat
happy
Grant.
to see my boy Wendell Pierce.
Yeah. Yeah. Love Wire alum.
Hell yeah. Yeah, Cat Grant was all of that.
uh
All of it.
yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. That's one of James Gunn's friends who's in a lot of his movies. Give me a Daily Planet show, honestly. I'd be cool with that.
That fucking the one time I remember them using slow motion in the whole movie.
The cheer.
They used it for her. And they used it for me.
Probably for James Gunn too.
I bet. Cardiac Solace with a 5 spot. Thank you, brother. Maybe a nitpick, but I prefer when Terrific just. Oh, I'm sorry. I already read that.
Yeah,
Whoops,
yeah.
my bad. I normally like them to know that I read it so I can move on, but yeah, my bad on that. Yeah. So Lex, Lex. This is the first movie where Lex wasn't dumb and goofy. He was serious. He was sinister. Um, he was plotting. He had a point to him. He felt human. He has flaws that are visible that he acknowledges. He acknowledged, I am a hater. I hate this motherfucker. and I want him dead. Um, but he leverages every single resource he has against Superman. My man invented cloning to kill Superman.
Just figured it out.
That's crazy. He started a war in the world to bait Superman. He created a kaiju to beat Superman. Like, what won't he do?
I love the bit they use throughout this where he's the one controlling Ultraman's moves, pretty much like
Yeah.
he's playing a Street Fighter game, and he's just using dictation to for all these different stratagems and move sets, like 1A, 1A, 1A. It's just a standard punch. I love that. I thought that was a great bit because he can say those things while monologuing, and it's as if he's the one fighting Superman. Yeah, he doesn't have the power suit in this, which that's why James Gunn needs to do number two. I need to see this Lex in the power suit for sure. The Raptors, thankfully, at least had the purple and green look to it, so it was seeded. But yeah, I loved Lex in this. Lex was just a friggin' shit heel.
When he killed my man. What
Yeah,
was his name? Mala. When
Molly or something. Yeah, yeah.
he shot that dude in cold blood.
And like the movie is all kind of goofy throughout, and then it's bam, James Gunn does his thing in two shots. This dude, and I felt it. I was like, oh fuck, I didn't expect that.
That was real.
Yeah,
It undercut the rest of the movie in a good way. Like you're
yeah,
not expecting this kind of just raw murder.
yeah.
He like raw murdered that guy. Um Lex was great. Lex was phenomenal. The only thing that it's not even necessarily about Lex, but and it's cutting through to the end, but like I did not care for the way he went out. Like I like the fact that he was defeated and all that, but like getting dumped on by Crypto, it was funny, but I didn't love that.
I think the movie needed Lex to get his ass kicked, but at the same time, the movie built up Superman in a way where he would not kick Lex's ass.
Right.
So somebody had to, and it was the dog.
Which I thought was a little bit horseshit because we saw Superman punch people's teeth out.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. The Raptors, right? When he does
yeah,
he has the low sensitivity on his controller and he just spins and hits them.
he first of all, did he not kill like he
Nah, they
they
got
got
good. Those suits are good, Sean. They're fine.
that's something that I really wanted to complain about. I'm
That's
not gonna
comic books,
lie.
buddy. That's like
Be- no. I'm down with that. I got no problem with that. My problem is that people bitched and moaned about Man of Steel and how Superman was cavalier about collateral damage. And in this movie, he killed multiple people. Those people are dead.
I don't.
There is no way that he was fighting those raptors in midair, punching them, eye beaming them and all, and they're just fine.
I think they're fine.
No.
When
And even
when
if
they drop down, they just have like stormtrooper esque burn marks on their armor. Like they're not even cutting through.
horseshit.
This
And
Superman wouldn't
also
kill anyone. I think they're fine. He pulled punches.
horseshit. Superman was not like there was mad collateral damage, especially at the end of the movie where the dimensional rift is cutting through Metropolis. You mean to tell me nobody died? Superman didn't save anybody.
They evacuated beforehand.
Oh yes,
They had a whole
yes,
day to
yes, yes,
evacuate.
yes.
Metropolis is a bastion of hope in the world, and they have a great government system and first responders that can help everyone evacuate in time.
Mhm.
Explaining the evacuation was like, oof, we don't do it. Those people who shit on Snyder are gonna shit on us.
That's what it felt like to me. That's what I'm illuminating. It bothered me that it feels like the movie is being spoken about differently from that perspective, or they handled it differently in order to appease people who were mad about what Snyder did. And my thing is like, no, fuck that. If you have this kind of catastrophe happening, people will die. And that there's nothing wrong with showing that or like not shying away from that. It's awful. That underscores the value of Superman's presence there. Because if he's not there, they're all dead. So I don't know. What did you think about the sort of way this movie wraps up, where you have the big tentpole sequences of the Justice Gang saving the day, at the war, and then you also have, of course, Superman versus Ultraman, who we do learn not is not said, but that was Bizarro.
I mean, I think it's an amalgamation of a couple characters. I mean, if it's leaning into John Byrne, it's Bizarro. That's literally the Bizarro story in John Byrne's Man of Steel, which we read on the book club, which you can check out on our channel. Um, but the way Lex says, "I made a distinct match," it feels like and it looks more like the Superboy match character, which was a fucked up clone of Superboy. Um, it felt like a mix of the two, which was fine. I saw it coming a mile away. Superman needed somebody to punch that is on his level. What better than a clone? And in a way, Ultraman is kind of a clone of him anyway. But it was fine. It gave us what we needed to do, and it let somebody go into the black hole, which they seeded as soon as they mentioned the black hole. And I really liked how Guy shows up to save the people of Jahanpur in the most douchebaggy way. But like, that's Guy Gardner. He's a douchebag, but he does the right thing. He's like, sorry guys, yeah, sorry you didn't get Superman. You got an upgrade, and like, and he's like just destroying tanks by flipping them off with constructs, which more fun constructs in this movie than the entirety of the Green Lantern movie.
Yo, that had me dying. Those middle finger constructs, I was like, oh my
Yeah,
God, what a dick.
yeah,
But like again, like you're not gonna take the whole movie to establish Guy Gardner. It's
you don't
not
need
his
to.
movie.
Yeah,
But you can do small things throughout that tell you who he is. And I felt like his characterization was perfect.
even his haircut like they mentioned his haircut, and it's like he has the haircut because he's an egotistical asshole. He thinks he looks good. He thinks his shit don't stink. But at the end of the day, he still does the right thing. And I think
Yeah.
that's Guy Gardner, and that's what I loved about the incorporation of the Justice Gang, in so much that like they are the corporate Maxwell Lord, and great little cameo by Sean Gunn as Maxwell Lord, who is like the original Maxwell Lord. He's not a villain. He's not Pedro Pascal. Oof. Um, they are heroes, but they're tethered to other interests. They decided to go out on their own and make a decision, and that's where it's like it felt like they're graduating from Justice Gang to Justice League. But then this is that one. Oh, I almost jumped out of my seat when Metamorpho turned into a rocket, and then he had the hammer.
That
I
was
was like,
sick.
I can't believe we're seeing that in a comic book movie. Like that's stuff I only was only relegated to an episode of Batman Brave and the Bold, not live
Shit.
action. And I thought it was great, man. I loved it. I love how fucking Kendra is just shrieking at people.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's stupid. It's dumb, but it's good. And I thought like that's when all this started coalescing. You got Superman and Metropolis, Mr. Terrific trying to find a science solution to stuff. Lex Luthor monologuing through a speaker on a clone that he made, and then that's the most comic book shit I've ever seen in a comic book movie. And I was smiling. I have heavy ass lips. It's hard for me to smile. Um, I was grinning throughout this last third of the movie. That's where it jumped for like a solid 4 for me on my ranking. Where I was like, yeah, I'm loving this.
And that's the best part about the movie to me is the comic book nature of it.
Yeah.
It just feels like comics on screen. And that's all I really want. It's all I really want. And I don't know if it's been done better than this. Like that exact thing, the comic bookiness. I don't know if it's been done better than this.
The closest I can remember it being like this is like the Avengers front of Grand Central Station. Where the music cue hits and they're doing Avengers shit, Avengers Assemble. That's the last, or maybe the Infinity War bit, or the big CGI fight at the end. But I think this even did it better than all of them.
Yeah, because it's not a moment, it's a movie. It's a movie that's like that. It's
Yep.
it's everything. It
Yep.
just feels ripped from the page. And it's the exact character. Like um Jimmy Olsen isn't some war reporter or not and I'm not saying I have a problem with this, but I'm talking about accuracy. He's not a woman. Like it's Jimmy Olsen. It's Jimmy. If you ever read a comic book with Jimmy Olsen in it, you will see that version in this movie. That's all I'm saying.
Taking
And
him
I love
from the
that.
page, putting him in 3 dimensions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I love that. Is there anything that we haven't talked about. Well, there's one thing. There's one major piece. Supergirl. Supergirl was in this.
Loved her costume. It's literally the
Yeah.
Woman of Tomorrow costume. And they even seed the movie immediately. She's going to red planets to get drunk with her dog. Uh, Potential spoiler for the movie, or if you haven't read Supergirl tomorrow, if you like crypto, have fun with that movie. Crypto is in it. Uh,
Did you know that she was going to be in this?
I knew she had to be. I think
Okay. So
because a they had to seed something for the future, and the only solidified thing we have for the future of movie wise was Supergirl. So I knew she had to show up.
I had no idea. I did not expect that. I was very pleasantly surprised. I thought that was super cool. And this movie doesn't do a lot to like the post credit scenes are not anything that they don't tease anything out. And this movie doesn't really tease much at all. And I was very comfortable with that because, at least for now, like, let this movie be its own thing, right? Like, we know Supergirl's coming, so okay, that's fine. You put her in, but she's directly connected to Clark, and it's an organic appearance. Um, you don't have to have a stinger at the end that teases, Green Lantern or like or Batman. Like Gotham was referenced in a blink and you miss it moment on a sign,
Yep.
but like that's it for now. Good, I'm cool with that.
Little things like Stag Industries showing up here. You know, little things here and there. It's but
The Hall of
Peacemaker.
Justice thing you talked
Yeah,
about
Hall of
before.
Justice. Peacemaker showing up.
Yeah, yeah,
Fun.
yep, and it makes the world feel lived in.
And we do know Guy is showing up in Lanterns, and I have no idea how that's going to work.
Yeah,
Because that seems tonally very different, but I'm excited for it.
that's gonna be interesting because of the tone you mentioned. Like, is this is this the tone? Do you think that James Gunn established what the tone of the DCU should be with
He
this?
established a baseline, and I think he is allowing, especially with like Clayface is not going to be this by Mike Flanagan. Luca Guadagnino's, I always mispronounce his name, but his Sergeant Rock, it's not going to be goofy as shit. Might be a little gay, but that's fine. Um, and I'm okay with that. That's what I want. I want James Gunn to do his thing for his movies, build a world, and then let other people play in that sandbox.
I agree. I wouldn't want every movie to feel this way, but I like the way this feels.
Yes, this would not feel. Actually, no. I was gonna say this would not feel right for a Batman, but I think there is a version of Batman where this would feel right,
And I frankly think that's the version of Batman we're going to be getting.
and I think we should different.
Yeah, so we'll see where things go. It should be very interesting to see kind of what, you know, if there is a tone for the DCU or if every movie is just going to be its own beast. But again, for this singular project, I think they nailed it for the most part. I have complaints, they're relatively minor in the grand scheme of things. I think everything this movie had to do right, it did better than right.
Agreed. I definitely went in. I I know you like Man of Steel, but I'm just gonna explain my
Yeah.
feelings when I left Man of Steel. I left the Man of Steel dejected. I felt wrong. I felt weird. I felt weird coming out of that. I left this movie still laughing and still happy. And I think it's a real palate cleanser for like if you want escapism in your films, like sure, this has a political message and undertones and its stance that it makes, but it is a palate cleanser for the real world because it's hopeful. And James Gunn understands that is who Superman is, and that's what this movie is going to be. And I came out of that movie feeling like, yeah, I want to do the right thing too. I want to do good at any means necessary. Um, and I think he did it. He did the right job. He did a good. He landed the ship properly.
Yeah. Yeah. For those of you who missed our ratings earlier, I give this an 8.5 teetering on a 9. I got to see it again.
Solid seven, 7.5 for me.
Will you see it again? Do you have any interest?
I might if I have some friends who didn't see it yet. I might go if I'm free a night. I have an Alamo Draft House season pass. I can probably just use that. So it's a possibility.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah, so Supergirl is next up. That will be dropping next year. So um hope that's great too. We got a tease of what we're gonna see in that movie here with Supergirl's appearance, so that's great. Um, I am very, very excited for the future of the DCU. It feels bright, and that's how it should feel. We'll take maybe 5 minutes for question. We got to get out of here. Our day is still not over. We've got to shoot pals previews for you guys for Monday. So
And I got to figure out how
um
to work that with two guys.
we'll read a couple comments before we cut out of here. Let's see if we can find comments from new people. Uh, Absurdity is new but negative. I thought it was a messy burger. I love the soundtrack and the casting. Overall, the movie though was too much going on. Okay, well, like what did you feel like was too much? I'm curious about because that was a complaint that I saw a lot of, and I genuinely did not. I did not feel that way. I felt like it all sort of meshed together well.
I think it does a lot of world building because it has to, and I think I felt that for the first half of the movie for sure. But then I was in the world and I liked it.
Yeah. The Watcher said, "Wow, the Watcher says 10 out of 10 for me. My favorite Superman. Very cool. Very cool. Are you the Watcher? Are you a regular here? Or do you come around these parts?
And
I don't recognize
it
you.
is your name Uatu. Are you switching sides here? Which are you the watcher that watches?
Izzy says 9.5. That's high. Okay, cool. I like that. Samuel Summers 6.5 out of 10 for me, but I absolutely love the casting. So what? And again, this is not an antagonistic question. I'm genuinely asking. What a 6.5 to me doesn't sound particularly good. So what held it back for you?
That's above average. If 5 is your baseline.
But not good.
Sure.
So I'm curious where you're coming from with that.
I want to know if anyone saw it in 4DX and if that's worth it.
Ay ay ay.
I know my brother went to 4DX and he said it was rickety.
I bet. Cardiac Solace. I knew Crypto was in the movie, but I was surprised how much he was used. Rename the movie. He deserved to be in the title. He put in work. Crypto was awesome. Stole every scene.
Yeah. That one bit where Clark is in Smallville and Crypto is just laying on his chest, wagging his tail. I'm like, this is a dog guy's movie. This is a dog dad movie. Quite literally, the Crypto is designed after James Gunn's dog. But I was perfectly fine with him being a terrier.
Uh that was much ado about nothing. Like it's a dog. Who fucking cares? Like it's a dog.
I mean, if Crypto was a Chihuahua, we probably have a different reaction.
Yeah, you're right. You're
Yeah,
right. But like I'm not gonna get up in arms about the exact specific
there
dog from
there
an
are
alien
type
planet.
there are types of dogs. There's like dog, there's little dog, and there's big dog.
Right.
Crypto remains in dog category.
He's in the category like he's in the range of the size that I would
Yeah,
imagine Crypto
dog,
would have been. Yeah,
not big dog, not little dog. He's dog.
yeah, 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 completely. Uncanny Suit with the two bucks. Saw the movie in 40X and it was insane. Really fun. Okay.
I got literally sick when I saw Spider-Man No Way Home in 40X. So, but I had a lot of fun with Twisters. So we'll see, maybe.
Jack says 8 out of 10. What's up, Jack? Barlord says 7. Okay, all right, a 7. That's what Tyler gave it. It's around there. Entertain me. Oh, he said I can't see it until Sunday. Oh, 7:20. You gotta wait, brother.
Whew.
Did you just listen to us? The whole thing we just talked about? You heard the whole
He
movie.
wanted to be entertained right away. He said, "Entertain
Fair.
me right now. I don't have time for Sunday."
Fair play, fair play. All right, guys, we do have to get out of here. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. A double dose of the pals for your Saturday. Hope you enjoyed it. Hit the like button if you haven't. I forgot to say it earlier. Please do that. Subscribe if you enjoyed this conversation. We review most comic book movies, not all these days, because some of them just look like shit. But we review all the ones we can afford to get to.
Not doing a Red Sonja one. Sorry, guys.
Probably not. And I love Red Sonja, but it's not likely going to happen. The next time we will be live with you is Thursday for Pals Pulls. We normally do largely comic book related shows, but whenever a big tentpole movie is out, we got to talk about it. So we do that and we love them. So subscribe if you enjoy the movie review. Subscribe if you enjoy our comic book stuff. Either way, see you guys on Thursday for Pals Pulls. Post Pals is happening in the Discord if you want to hang out with the pals and continue the day. Not with Tyler and I, but with the rest of the community. That